So let's try and understand this lowermost rung of the ladder of happiness, which is called sensory happiness. What are the characteristics of this sensory happiness, and why is it important for all of us to understand this very well? As we saw the ladder of happiness, this is the lowermost rung. Why is it the lowermost rung? Let's look at the characteristics of this sensory happiness and let's try to correlate it with our own lives. The first characteristic of this particular kind of happiness is that these are desires which are fleeting. So it's like we get attracted to so many things around us. Our mind is always getting attracted through the sense objects, through the sense organs, to the outside world objects, as is shown in the slide here. If you can see the Ferrari, bungalow, a lot of money, a lot of the sweets, attraction to the other sex, all these things are things that it's a natural attraction that exists, but these are fleeting desires. These desires will keep coming in. Now, what is another characteristic of these desires that keep coming into our minds and it keeps running from one to another is that these do not last very long. They all last only for short and finite durations. What I mean is that we cannot get absorbed into this happiness for a very long time. You may have a desire to acquire something, you may look at something and feel that I want that, but you will never get absorbed by that thought. It will be something which will just stay for some time and then it will change to something else. The third characteristic is that it's extremely addictive. What do you mean by that? Means that if I do something based on what my senses are attracting me towards, and I do a little bit of it, and it's very easy to form a habit into those addictive things. The same is true for even the things that are not that attractive, that we'll talk about later. But what's important to understand is that how do habits get formed? Our body mind complex starts getting involved in certain activities based on what we like to do, and it becomes a habit because once I do something like this, it's got a quality of getting us addicted to it. That means whether it is sex, whether it is acquiring wealth, whether it is driving a car, or it is getting a new car for ourselves, or it is eating sweets, or anything that you like to eat. Moment we start indulging in it, it becomes an addiction. So you feel like doing it again and again and again and again. However, a beautiful characteristic which is connected to this is that there is a diminishing marginal return in this kind of an acquisition or this kind of an indulgence. What I mean is, suppose you're eating a sweet, and the first time you have that sweet which you like a lot, the kind of joy or pleasure that you get from eating that sweet is, assume it is X. The next time when you eat it, the joy or pleasure that you're going to get out of it is definitely going to be lesser than X. And as you keep repeating these activities, the returns, that means the joy or happiness that you're going to feel because of that sensation coming into you, is going to become lesser and lesser and lesser and lesser. You can check this out in your day to day activities. Whenever you do something for the first time because you seem to like it a lot, the happiness that you get out of it, the pleasure that you get out of it, and then as you keep repeating it the second time, the third time, the fourth time, the pleasure or happiness that you get out of it, if you compare them, you will realize that the returns are actually decreasing. And last but not the least, again connected to this, suppose we keep on indulging into this kind of a happiness for a very long time. After some time, after that long time that we have spent indulging in that particular activity for some, say, a year or 2 years or maybe a month, and every day you're doing it, it leads to repulsion. The same object which you said I love it, by the time you have spent enough time indulging in it and you're doing it continuously, consistently, at some point in time, these sensory objects will become repulsive to the same mind and body complex. This is the quality of this lowermost rung, and I think it's self-explanatory why now we understand that this lowermost rung is the lowermost rung of happiness, because this happiness is not something that anybody can get completely absorbed into. And this is something that we all understand very well. People who are very rich, people who are enjoying all the luxuries in life, if you go and connect with them and have a one on one conversation, you will realize most of them are missing out the real happiness in life. So this is a simple understanding that this sensory happiness is the lowermost rung of the ladder. Thank you.